The lesson today comes from a book called The Code of the Warrior by Shannon French, exploring warrior values past and present. And in it, she's examining warrior cultures around the world. And in particular, the importance of having a warrior code. So that's what we're going to dig into here. First of all, warrior cultures uh, are created so that they can fight more as a unified team. Okay, so how do they do that? Well, to bring in new people into the warrior culture, they, in a sense, indoctrinate them. And don't be too surprised about using a word like indoctrination. We're all kind of brainwashed and indoctrinated and integrated into the groups that we're a part of. It can be helpful to be very conscious in that process, but this is a certain way of indoctrination so that we can create a cohesive team around certain regulations and rules of behavior, certain virtues, certain values. Okay, and in the warrior culture in particular, they have a long tradition and history that they can draw from to understand like where they've come from and what creates this culture. So this all helps them fight as a unified unit and understand themselves in a larger context beyond their individual selfish needs. They're able to and willing to die for the people that they're fighting with, to die for the team, so to speak, engaged in this mutual fight. So what French says in this book is that the code is important because it helps restrain behavior. Now, consider that and this is what she advocates, that warriors need to be held to a higher standard. Well, why is that? It's because they learn this life and death skill of killing, and they make decisions around that. And so those decisions need to be guided by a higher moral value, you might say. And this is important for two reasons. Obviously, if you're making decisions to kill other people, then it's important for those other people. But it also impacts the warrior themselves. So in a previous lesson, I talked about the dilemma that's created for a warrior when they learn these skills of being violent and killing to protect the nation, and then when they come back from combat and reintegrate into the society, they don't know how to behave. They're still acting in this violent way. So this is the dilemma. And so if there is some restraint and a code around how they're behaving in combat, then that can help them know how to behave in a more peaceful way, in a more equitable way when they're back in society. French calls this like psychological armor. And we're going to be examining other books that also address this challenge that warriors have when they come back into the societies, and how to make that integration more effective. The thing is that warriors want to feel like they interacted in an honorable fight. And in the dilemma last time, I talked about how warriors can like dehumanize the enemy just to make killing easier, because it's hard to, when you see someone else eye to eye as an equal, it can be hard to kill them, you might say. And that might be one of the aspects that really is part of this code, that it needs to be hard to kill someone else, so that when you do it, there's a real reason and meaning behind it, for your own survival and the survival of your team. But you're not doing it out of thinking that you're just killing something that is less than human. That creates the psychological trauma for when you go back into society, where you don't feel like you actually participated in an honorable fight. So we've been examining, what it means to live as warriors, and how to draw those lessons to for you to live in, civilian society. Well, uh, what you can draw from this lesson is the discipline that a warrior code creates. So for you, you want to have a disciplined approach to how you live your day, and so that it can guide you toward what's important to you. So morning routines and daily practices is one of the best ways to create this discipline. And there are two that I found really helpful. First of all, morning routine is a simple breathing meditation. Okay. All you need to do is for about 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, if you only have 5 minutes, is focus on feeling the breath. And I say feeling because it needs to be focused somatically. In other words, feel your chest and belly expanding out and contracting back in. So keep your attention there, and then notice when attention goes into thinking, being lost in thought, and kind of, in a sense, wake up and bring it back to the feeling of the breath. And that will happen very frequently, so just notice and redirect. Notice and redirect. That's the morning routine, and the daily practice is similar. You ground your attention somatically in what I call expanded body. You just have an expanded body posture, focus on maybe hearing your breath, relaxing tensions, engaging your attention in your senses, like what you can see and hear. Keep your attention grounded somatically like this. And then again, notice when you're lost in thought, when attention has gone into thinking, and bring it back to that somatic way of focusing your attention. Now, of course, you're going to be thinking all day long, about work that you need to do. That's important and helpful. The lost in thought part is when we just habitually get lost in thought. We're not intentionally thinking. And that happens a lot more than you realize. So be intentional, focusing attention somatically. Notice when you get lost in thought and redirect it toward having attention in your body. Stay grounded that way. That's your morning routine and daily practice for this lesson.